And that's just a bad move on Flurg anyway, because if that's your man's, you married, your man's is dating Lita. At some point, I'm pretty sure y'all hang out together, and what's the name, Sojourner is gonna bring that up to Lita. So you shouldn't even put your man's in that position in the first place. So Flurg, you're all around the way just bad dude.
What up, what up, what up, what up? It's Three Brothers No Sense, your favorite barbershop style podcast. I am Ferg. Guess I was still the least favorite brother of them all. Your favorite bad guy. Three Brothers No Sense. Join my co-host Buff and Riser. They're shaking their heads in disagreement. That's what I expect the favorites to say. Fellas, what it do?
What up, man? I just want to say China is letting the cat out of the bag. This trade war has gotten crazy, as we've talked about a couple times, and China said, you know what? We just gonna let it all out there. They have spilled the beans on all your luxury brands and where they get made. Like, we didn't know, but for some reason people saw it on TikTok, so now it's an epiphany that all this stuff is getting made in China and for really cheap, and they're just paying markups for the brand. But China said, you know what? You don't have to go and get that brand. We can give it to you without the label on it, and you can have that same bag without the label on it for like $10, $20. And people are jumping on it, and they're jumping on the bandwagon. So now it's cool to have knockoffs, I guess, because people want to stick it to Trump. It's weird, it's stupid, but hey, such is life. If you want to find a way to make knockoffs cool, that's what it is. But that's what people have done, because now it's a trend to go ahead and order it from China instead of paying for the label.
Have black people jumped on it yet?
Yes.
Have rappers jumped on it yet?
No.
Until they make a rap song about it, it ain't cool.
Some of the new ones might. You never know. It'll be a cool TikTok trend.
I already hear it, and it's making my stomach turn.
They already embracing knockoff bodies, so why not embrace knockoff?
Shots fired.
Shots fired. What did Dion and what was it, Dion and Shannon Sharp? Dion was like, yeah, we had a play called Nicki Minaj, and then Shannon Sharp said, was it fake?
God.
He asking for smoke going at Nicki.
Yeah.
Right.
So the I already know what the viral video is gonna be. It's gonna be where them brands at, and it's gonna.
Well, that's a good one. We need to go ahead and make that remix. That where them brands at? Where them brands at?
Oh no, I'm gonna go buy expensive just because. I refuse to be part of that. I hate that song with a passion.
So,
what else you got for us, Razzie?
Only other thing I got is a tale of two big box retailers. So, Costco, if you guys don't know, Costco reinforced their DEI initiatives. They said that, they're 10 toes down. Sure. And Target said, here's our MAGA hat, and we are overturning our DEI initiatives. And you can tell by the foot traffic, Costco has their 13th of increased foot traffic, while Target has had 13 straight weeks of decreased foot traffic. And so much so that they are meeting with Al Sharpton to try to get the niggas back on board. Because they're like, hey, y'all can't be leaving us just because we don't support DEI. So I know what happened. They probably rebranded it. They probably are still doing the initiatives and everythém.
Hey,
my thing
we don't,
is,
no. Let them sit in it. Don't apologize for them.
I'm not apologizing.
Yes, you are.
What I'm saying is, I know what they're gonna say. I speak corporate. So for our listeners out there,
I ain't here for that.
Here's what they're gonna say. They're gonna say to Al Sharpton, we were doing this already. We support it. We are one of the highest minority, companies, employers. We're one of the highest minority employers. We have a commitment to getting black brands and minority brands into our stores and everything. We do this all the time. So we didn't need an actual DEI initiative to do that. And what I call is on that, right? My thing, we've talked about it a couple times, is, but that's what they're going to say, is that we do it all the time. It's ingrained in our culture, so we don't need an actual organization around it. My thing is, for you to say, no, we're not going to support DEI, or we're going to roll back our DEI policies just to appease Donald Trump and the right. Okay, well, you can do without the left. And that's just how I feel about it. And so whatever they say, don't listen. Al Sharpton, if you listen to Three Brothers No Sense, when you go, we said don't listen. Let them know you. And until y'all put this DEI back in, we ain't coming back. That's all
Do
I
black
got
people
for it.
still listen to Al Sharpton?
He is the closest thing I think we have to kind of a movement leader. Who else would you say is like leading the charge for black people? Who is our spokesperson?
Nobody. And definitely not Al Sharpton. Maybe Big Al. I don't trust Lil Al. No, Lil Al Sharpton, I don't know. There's something about that.
That big old head with that little body.
That dude just now. That ain't of God, you know. And Target, hey, 2 tears in a bucket.
True. Like I said, man, my biggest thing, I don't know who they would go talk to. Who would be our representative or spokesperson? Is that an issue? I know we've talked about that. Like, what do we want? Who would go and deliver our message if we wouldn't have anybody?
That's for them to
Cory
figure
Booker?
out. That's for them to figure out. Not my problem. Black people will be okay without Target. I'm just saying. That's the least of our worries.
Yeah.
You know.
But I do want a resolution. That's my thing. I want a resolution.
Why?
So then, because I want to be able to go back to Target, and I want to be able to shift our focus to another person. So whatever it is, I want Target to, one, I want them to recommit to DEI, right? That is what I want to see from them. And until they do that, then we're not going back. But what I want ultimately is for them to do that, so then we can move to the next company that we want to threaten and boycott and get them to get back on board with. Because there's a lot of companies that pull back that we're still using, right? We still use Facebook. We're still on Meta. We're still using Amazon. We're still using other organizations and companies. And Target was like the open silo or salvo. It was like, okay, we're going after them now. I want to be able to shift focus to somebody else. And until we kind of get Target back on board, we won't be able to show the leverage. And so we won't be able to kind of steamroll that into other organizations.
I guess.
Like you say, I mean, what is a boycott? You want something from a boycott. Are we just cutting them off and we just canceling them? Or do we want something in return? Do we want some change?
Baby. Let it burn. I mean, imagine Target never recovers.
Are we going to go to Walmart?
No, something else. Something. We'll be okay. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, because I'm not doing either. And it's hard, but...
We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. And do you think, okay, we're going to appease the niggers is the fix, and then we don't get anything else? You think black people, you think we're going to move on to somebody else, or we're going to see that as a win and call it a day? Or does Target go under and it spooks everybody like, damn, them niggas ain't playing. We better get our shit together. And maybe that's it, And then they have a clearance sale and we got a lot of Target for cheap. I don't know. I feel like we spent too long talking about Target, so.
Yeah, what you got, Buff?
First off, you mentioned China had let the cat out the bag. Speaking of cats, I've always been a dog guy. But I will say that social media has made me at least kind of respect cats.
Don't do it.
And I respect cats because they don't mind slapping kids. And I'm for that. It's a video where the baby hits this cat like 4 times, and somebody did a voiceover for it. He was like, man, cats will slap your ass, dog. I didn't know this about cats, man. It's so many videos of them just like slapping the shit out of people, man. It's kind of admirable.
So that's what made you a cat person.
Yeah, I'm not a cat person, but I'm
a slap person.
I got a little more respect for them.
I'm a slap person. I respect slaps.
But so in some serious news though, the old question, well, it's not that old, but the question of what is a woman, that has been like a very divisive question, especially in this country. Well, the UK has decided. The UK Supreme Court has said that a woman is a biological woman that was born a biological woman and has the sex assigned as a female. So they went out of their way to say that it's not an attack on trans women. It's not about one side winning over the other side. They're ruling in the favor of spaces for women need to be for women. And that's why they defined what a woman is. And obviously, trans women over there are a little bit nervous. And I'm sure trans women in this country are too, because obviously if we see what's going on over there, it's not too far before we try to tackle that as well. So that's something to be looking out for, man. And we talked a lot about what we want the Democratic Party to do last week. And the Democrat Party is on the ropes right now. And I personally think it's a bad time for a civil war. But David Hogg, for those of you that don't know David Hogg, he's one of the kids that survived the Parkland shooting down there in Florida, the school shooting. He's turned activist and politician. And he has now co-founded a group called Leaders We Deserve, where they will be primarying current Democratic members. Now, it's a little bit. First off, I kind of disagree with that. I don't think this is the time to be having some inter-party fighting, but maybe the cream will rise to the top. But it's kind of like tepid because he's not really going after any big names. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like I feel like one of the things I do admire about when the Tea Party had their movement, man, they ousted the current majority leader or assistant majority leader at the time in the House, Eric Cantor. Mm-hmm. They got on about the paint. So I think if you're going to do something like this, whether I agree with the movement or not, if you're going to do it, like, do it. You can't be like, oh, well, no, they're fine. We think they're okay. No, we're not going to touch them. He's like, it's not going to be based on age. It's not going to be based on how many terms they serve. It's just based on members that they think are out of touch, and they're going to primary them. So if they get better candidates, then I guess it's great. I just don't know if this is the right time, man. I think we talked a lot about the messaging of the Democratic Party. I think that should be the main focus of not only what that message is, but like how Razi said, getting it out there, being loud. One of the things Razi said last week was they need to be more vocal, more loud about it. So yeah, that's all I got right now, man.
It may help though, and like you say, I don't mind it. I don't mind primaries because my thing is it gets. I don't like when primaries
it keeps incumbents on their toes.
It does, and especially if it's a hard fought battle in a primary, that's media attention, right? Oh, I start to know that person's name. I hear about them. I just don't like when they infight and they start like slinging mud at each other because all that is fueling for the Republicans in the general. But if you go after, okay, here's my policies, let's go at it to talk about what actually comes out as the policy for the people. We end up kind of the same thing we talked about with Kamala, right? You end up with a stronger candidate at the end of a primary 90% of the time. And I want that, right? You come out with the person that has a better chance of actually winning because they energize the base. So I don't mind them primarying. I just really want them to, one, like you said, be smart about who they primary, and two, make sure we don't get into giving the Republicans fodder for, and the opposition research, they're going to bring it up anyway. So it might make sense to do the M&M and put it out there in the front end, right? Instead of waiting and letting you hit me with it on the back end. So it might not be a bad thing anyway.
Whatever it is, it needs to be entertaining. I think you're giving people too much credit. They want to be entertained. They want something they can get behind. I mean, our recent election have shown that it's a new politic. It's new politics, so.
Yeah, and I guess you guys have convinced me. I guess I'm with you, but I don't think you should be as timid as he's being with it.
That's true. That's true.
He seems to be scared. He seems to be a little afraid to go after the very powerful members. And hey, look, I have no problem with powerful politicians. If they are effective and they're getting things done, so be it. But if they're just holding on to a seat term after term after term and enriching themselves, not doing much for their district or their state, if we're talking about senators, no matter how powerful they are, primary they are.
Okay. Couple of things. Ryan Coogler did it again. Went to see. Have either one of you guys seen it?
I haven't yet. I'm trying to go see it yet.
What were your thoughts?
There's a mid-credit scene, by the way, Razi. Yeah. It was good. It was good. I was telling somebody there are no wasted scenes to me.
The mid-credit scene put a bow on it, really nice. I would just say that it was good. It was good. I mean, the cast did a great job, and it's not a spoiler. I would say Michael B. Jordan did an excellent job playing two characters that in the cinematography. Usually, when I've seen movies or shows where they're having somebody play the same character, there's a lot of cut scenes and ways they try to make it, they'll never try to have them in a scene together. They'll be shaking hands or, there was a lot of interaction between the two characters. And, if you pay attention, like they were so seamless that you forget that this nigga is the same nigga.
I expected to win a lot of.
It will. The music, cinematography. I think even best supporting actress. It's gonna win some awards, and if not win, they're gonna be nominated for a ton.
Yeah, dang.
It was pretty good. Possibly sequels. I see opportunity for them to continue what they started. I would be entertained to see how that goes.
Is he starting
But I
his
just
own
wanted to
MCU? Because I hear that Sinners was the original idea for Blade. And so, because Blade was supposed to be a period piece, yada yada yada. So that's what I'm hearing, is that it was supposed to be that, and so maybe he's starting kind of his own cinematic universe based in there. So that would be dope if he did that.
I could see that. I've heard rumors about that too, but I think they did a great job from top to bottom. I love period. I didn't realize until recently I really have a thing for period pieces, but it was really good. We didn't talk about this last week, and I didn't really. There's not enough details, or there's still details coming out, but we did not mention the Carmelo with a K, a young Texas teen out of Frisco, Texas, who has been accused of murder at a track meet April 2nd of this year. He had an altercation with, I can't remember the young man's name. What is Austin? Austin Metcalf, 11th grader at the school at a track meet, and they got an altercation, and Carmelo is stabbed Austin during the altercation, and he was taken away, and he's facing murder charges. And there has been a lot of debate on this topic. There's a lot of people that feels like, hey, it was premeditated. I mean, in short, there's the people who want to call him a criminal and a murderer and say it was premeditated because he had a knife right in his book bag. And then there's people who said it's self-defense, and they use the common law that's used in Texas all the time. In a lot of cases we've seen, stand your ground. And the question, the debate is, what's the difference? There was a recent video of a guy getting an altercation with somebody who was attacking him in his car, tried to pull him out through the window or something like that, and he shot him several times. I think he killed him. And they're calling that self-defense. Is self-defense and stand your ground only apply to gun use?
We know the difference. No, we know the difference. We know the difference.
And that's the thing. And then, when you bring that up, oh, you guys are playing the race card. No, what is stand your ground? And this really, I think the stand your ground really became popular during the Trayvon Martin trial, right? And
then again in Kyle Rittenhouse.
Yeah, and so it's all these situations where this guy drove across state lines underage at a protest, call himself policing, walking around with his gun and shoots and kills somebody, right? That's not premeditated, so it's a lot that goes into it. So, but no, I just wanted to shed some light on that and urge people to pay attention to it. And I still don't know all the details, and I don't think we'll ever know all the details. But it's just one of those things where it's hard to point the finger at somebody when in so many different cases we've seen similar situations and it was quickly called self-defense. And I just want that same, I guess I expect for that same justice to be served. I'm not saying they're right or wrong. I'm just saying, hey, if this is how we're going to handle it, then I think this is how we need to handle it and either redefine stand your ground, shed some more light on it, but you can't this is so similar that it's hard to but we're in a society where slapping a face really doesn't mean anything, right? I don't even think they got to try to lie or sugarcoat it, right? Like he's a nigga and he can't do stand your ground.
That's ultimately what it comes down to.
Yeah, just I don't know how better to put it, because I had to tell some of my kids that they were talking about it and they were trying to explain it, and I'm like, I get it, but at the end of the day, it doesn't necessarily work that way. Mm-hmm. And so don't try to justify it, or if you're in a situation like that, don't try to figure it out. But that's all I got. Y'all, let's go ahead and jump into it. Sophie there?
She is. Hold on 1 second. Let me grab her. Sophie over here mewing. Here, found it.
It's Joke, in case you didn't.
I spelled it wrong. I don't like that joke. That one's bad. That one's even worse. Y'all need to post some better jokes.
Y'all?
Yes.
How's this on us?
Not on you guys. I'm talking about the viewers. They gotta get better. They gotta post better ones. How do you find a cheetah at night?
Spotlight?
Like I said, we need new and better ones. I don't know what this is. I
don't think you gotta let people win. If you ever go to the casino, the house always wins, but you gotta let the people win every once in a while so they'll keep playing.
Somebody ought to hit the jackpot.
James. I shouldn't have let you win.
Somebody's got to, like, if you never win, nobody wants to play. Like, man, don't bring Sophie. We're never gonna win, so what's the point?
Well, the people come for me, so if you take me out, then everyone's leaving.
I mean, we'll run that risk.
I've started several riots to bring me back. Let's think about the numbers. Think about our payment.
The payoff.
We can start a riot.
Yeah.
See?
We can start a riot.
There you go. All right.
But that was a good one. I just knew cheetah spots, and it just came to me.
It made sense.
I did the strawberry cry. He found himself in the jam. You're not winning again.
That was pretty. Again. I like that one.
You're not winning again.
All right.
Never again.
Yeah, Buff, you had a good question. So I feel like you had a question. So let's go ahead and.
I've lost my confidence now. I don't know how good it is. But I did ask it on our Facebook page about a week or two ago. And so Ferg, I know your answer, but I still want you to tell it to the listeners. And Razi, I don't think you answered, or at least I didn't see it. But my question was, who was your favorite TV couple and why? And the 4 choices were Andre and Rainbow from Blackish. It was Uncle Phil and Aunt Viv for any iteration of Bel Air, whether it be dark-skinned Viv, light-skinned Viv, or the current Bel Air Aunt Viv. It was Cliff and Claire Huxtable, and it was what was it? Whitley and Dwayne? Was that
no,
before?
It was from.
No.
This is us.
This is us. Yes, that's right.
Randall and Beth.
Randall and Beth. Yeah. So,
can we put them in order?
That makes it even better. So Andre and Rainbow, for the listeners again, Andre and Rainbow, Cliff and Claire, Randall and Beth, and any iteration of Aunt Viv and Uncle Phil. So who's your favorite and why? And if you can rank.
Okay. All right. I will go with. I'm gonna go Andre and Bo, and mainly for me, it's they seem or felt more authentic than anybody else. Like they called out each other's flaws a lot more than I think. And my number 2 is definitely Randall and Beth. And so it was really, really close between those. Now that was the thing that took it over for me, was that they called each other flaws out. And maybe because it was a comedy and not a drama, which may kind of skew it a little bit. They joked on each other a lot. Randall and Beth joked on each other a little bit, or they joked with each other. But because it was a drama, I think it changed the dynamic a little bit for me. So, but Bo and Rainbow, even when they were almost getting a divorce and they were trying to work through it, for the listeners who didn't watch the whole series of Blackish, but they had a little stint where they kind of broke up and tried to get back together and everything. It was just all of that. The conversations they had, I really like how Kenya Burris did with the writing to kind of address issues that dealt with Black people in every show. right? This Is Us couldn't do that because they were still they did it a little bit, but it couldn't do it as much. So I think it's just the show, the format, the writing of it is what puts them above Randall and Beth, because they didn't have to. They weren't an ensemble cast, right? Of, well, I only get 10 minutes of the 1 hour show, and I got to try to shoehorn some black issues in there in this whole show, right? I got to see that entire breadth there. So it goes Bo and Rainbow, Randall and Beth. Then I'm gonna go Aunt Viv and Uncle Phil. And who was the last one? Let me make sure.
Claire and Cliff.
Claire and Cliff. Yeah, then Claire and Cliff. Yep. That's my fourth. Yep.
Roz, you made a 32 in ACT. And that 30. Okay, maybe that explains it. Your answer was all the way wrong. You know how they said there's no dumb questions? That was a dumb answer. No, I'm just kidding. For me, and mine is going to be Beth and Randall. I know Byron doesn't like them as much, but I like Beth and Randall because it was always a comedy, and they dealt with issues. I love their love for each other. There was a lot of vulnerability in it. They didn't try to make it comical. They didn't try to hide those pain points, whatever it is. Every couple has their challenges. Every couple has their moments. And there's a lot of times where you can't laugh through it. There's no punchline. And you even kind of said it where like Rainbow and Dre had, they were dealing with black issues. We all deal with black issues, but sometimes things are just issues, right? There is, and I don't want to sugarcoat it and like playing the race card, but it's like I think there's just issues we're dealing with. How do you raise your family? How do you deal with the things that are going on outside of your family, or that are family but outside of your household? And how do you let that affect you? And deal with those relationships and deal with your past and how it weighs on you and all this stuff. And through it all, they found a way to love through each other, like love on each other. And I was definitely a fan of Beth. I loved her strength. I loved her humor. I love the way she was able to find solutions, the way she was able to stand by and support, but never get lost. Like her, I feel like she never got lost. She still was always her. And if she started losing herself, she stood up.
Yeah, and I can agree with that. The issue I feel like is Beth made a lot of sacrifices for Randall, and Randall didn't make a lot of sacrifices for Beth in there. And that was one of the sticking points throughout the show, was that. But I really feel like it was really one-sided in that show, in that relationship. And it was Beth doing it for Randall. And again, that's probably because of the show, and they only had so much time and they couldn't really focus on her. But there was a lot of times that Randall was wrong in what he did, and Beth still kind of rocked with him on that. And that's a good relationship, healthy. That's why they're my number two. But that kind of is one of the rubs that I had there.
I can see that. I can see that. But I think in a lot of relationships, you find one person has a more dominant personality, has their vision or whatever kind of leads the direction of the family or the household. When I think if Beth stood up or said she needed something, he would accommodate. Like it wasn't like I don't know. I
Buff shaking his head no, but yeah, he did. I mean, you got to think, when she wanted to do the dance studio,
he did not. We spent too much time on them. Who are the other three?
You ain't about to shut me up, but we can disagree on that one. I just felt like, because I'm not going to make him a bad person. I feel like he wanted to be a good person, do right by his family and all this stuff. Then, of course, to me, Cliff and Claire, I think for me, they were the first example for me to see what the dynamics of a black family could be. It wasn't the struggle of, it wasn't the bad kids, it wasn't living in a ghetto, it wasn't all these other things. It was, man, that is the reason I wanted to go to school and become a doctor. That was the first time I was like, you know what, I want to be a doctor when I grow up. Because it was the first sign of black excellence for me as a family.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted that for myself. I guess I'll go Bo and Dre after that. And I would go for some of the reasons you said. But I would go. I gotta put Uncle Phil and Aunt Viv last because they had too many iterations, and light skinned Aunt Viv just loses all points. She just dragged. You can't.
She did, and it wasn't her fault. It wasn't the actor's fault.
She just took.
Yeah.
She just took it away. She just she disqualified them. So
yeah, I can see
all
that.
right.
So me and Razi's list are perfectly aligned. Actually, but I'll do this because I think all four couples have their pros and cons, and so there's really just about preference at the end of the day. I put Dre and Bo first because it was just something about that season when they separated and were on the verge of divorce. They just acted their asses off to me. Like, for it to be a comedy, that shit hit for me, man. That shit hit. And I was surprised because, like we say, it is a comedy. But I mean, if Fresh Prince could have that serious episode about his dad, they were able to make a serious season. And it just hit. And I talked to several other people who said the same thing. Like, I had somebody say, like, their kids didn't even like that season because they was like, so are you and mommy gonna ever get a divorce? Like, that's how hard it hit for some people, man. Their cons, though, Dre kind of verged towards that Martin element that I don't like. If you rewatch Martin, which we pretty much all do because it's reruns everywhere, Martin did not deserve Gina. How many times are you gonna listen and take advice from Stan? Like, it is. I know it's supposed to be a comedy and that's the sauce of the show, but it's like damn near frustrating to watch the stupid shit that Martin would go along with when it came to Gina. On top of the fact that she made more money than him. Yeah, I said it. So Dre did that a lot on Blackish. He would go to work. Like, that's all they ever did at work was discuss his problems. They would go to work. He would get stupid advice and come home and apply it. But he wasn't as quite as bad as Martin. Therefore, I was able to keep them at number one.
I'm gonna give you add. This is the reason they were lower to me is kind of what you're saying, but the fact that his mom and dad lived them. So Bo had she had a living enemy. Like,
yeah, she did.
Like that's the thing. Is like, hey, if you can't respect, like she blatantly disrespected his wife every episode, right? It's like, hey, mama, either you gonna respect my wife or you gonna have to. You can't do this. And for me, that was my main thing.
He was like, that's my mama.
And Ferg makes a great point. I think for me, and he's not wrong. I just think for me, it was so comedic at times that
she was hilarious.
It was easy to brush off. Now, number two, I got Randall and Beth, who could have easily been number four, in my view. But Beth carries so much of the weight of the workload that she got them in number two for me because Randall is a bully. He is a bully that cries a lot. And, the whole thing where he wanted to be a city councilman in Philadelphia, he was going to relent at the very end. But, like, what he put her through before he got to that point was completely selfish. This is a man who went and found a complete stranger in his biological father, brought him home, let him stay there. No conversation with his wife whatsoever. Just, hey, I found him. He's staying with us. Then when he dies, okay, now I want to adopt somebody. She got to get on board with that. They adopt her. The mom comes, takes her back. He's ready to adopt again to the point to where his kids was like, yo, we like Deja, but it almost feels like we're not enough for you. Like, he just constantly, to me, in his search of finding these answers and that trauma that he suffered from, he neglected his family a lot emotionally. And he resisted getting a therapist for so long. Like, he has so many selfish ways about him that he is damn near unlikable. And he's a character that I want to root for because I love them as a couple. I think Beth is the only woman in the world for him. And then I don't even like the pressure he put on her to get married. Like, their whole story, I think he proposed 9 times or something.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Until finally she talked to the mom or whatever, and she was like, and it was kind of like, okay, I guess I'll let him propose to me now. Like, he's a bully that cries a lot. Phil and Viv are number 3. I only put them above Cliff and Claire. Well, you'll hear why when I get to Cliff and Claire. But obviously I like dark skinned Viv, and I like this current Bel Air Viv. They didn't really do much with the light skinned Viv, but I do hate how much smoke she gets, because it's not her fault that they replaced dark skinned Viv, but she gets so much smoke for just getting a job, So I really do hate the hate that she gets, but in all iterations, I just like how every once in a while Viv would, stand up to Phil if he felt like he was wrong, and they was just a really good couple. Like everything Ferg said about the Huxtables, that's what the Banks family was for me. And I put Cliff and Claire last. It's no fault of their own. It's just how the show was. But to me, they are the epitome of that corny happy wife, happy life. Like, was Claire ever wrong? Was she ever wrong? Like, it was always Cliff that messed up or whatever, and she was the smarter, the better, and all this stuff. That's just news alert. This gonna rub a lot. I'm not a fan of the Cosby Show. That show was just so unrealistic, and it was kind of corny. I watched it. We only had so many choices growing up. I did watch it, but I didn't relate. And it's not because they had money in it. It's just how they interacted. And like, I don't even think like that relationship, Claire and Cliff, it didn't have any realism to me. It lacked that. And so maybe it was just too early for sitcoms to really tackle realistic topics like that, because that's what, late 80s.
I think they did, but to your point, I think it's the time periods, right? And if you look, the iterations have just gotten better and better at doing it, right?
Yeah.
So
just like superhero movies, like they get grittier and stuff.
Even the new Bel Air, the way they're able to approach new things.
Yeah, but the main thing was just the whole happy wife, like it's like she's always right.
But
like,
as you say that, if you look at it, you said that's the reason you like Bo. That's the reason you like Beth. The husband is usually the bad. Hold on, the husband is usually like the bad guy or the comical character in these things.
Bo was not always right, and neither was Beth. There were times Beth was wrong too, and there were times like Cliff never had a Randall moment where he's pretty much told Beth how it was going to go, and it stuck. Dre had his moments with Rainbow as well, but with Claire and Cliff, it was just
I get it. I feel like when you look at these shows, it's more acceptable for the husband to be somewhat the up.
Yeah.
And so I think as you look at it,
and that's the formula they were going by.
Yeah, I think that, like as you said, I'm not just saying like everybody was perfect. I mean, it was the husband was because think about
like Married with Children.
Yeah, the husband. The husband is the person you want to laugh at. The wife is kind of the grounded one or whatever. Even Peggy was a horrible wife, but she was exactly. Al was the she ain't work and do nothing, but Al still was the consummate screw up, right?
It was a cheap way for Hollywood to say,
yeah,
hey ladies, we know men run everything, but for these 30 minutes, we're gonna make it seem like y'all do.
Because you can't make fun of women like that.
Right.
Like you can't, you can't,
Still
you can't.
Still can't.
Yeah, so it was Gina was the grounded one. It's always has to be. I mean, the only one time I really seen it happen was I Love Lucy, where the show was her show.
Right.
But I will say, because I know you like Randall and Beth, I think out of the 4 couples, no one was more perfect for their spouse than Beth.
Yeah.
I definitely think Cliff, he was a doctor. He could have found somebody. Claire could have found somebody. Viv, Phil, Rainbow, Dre, they each. But for Randall, it's Beth, or it's probably somebody that ain't gonna last.
Yeah. I loved how Beth, when what's the sister's boyfriend that became the husband, the big guy, when he came in.
It's not Tom. Is it not Tom? Oh, I can't think of it. Kevin. No, not Kevin. Kevin's the brother. But I can't think of it. Yeah, I know you're talking.
You talking about the sister name? Kate?
Kate's husband. Can't think of his name right now.
But when he first came in, and so Beth was just like, welcome to the drama, right? Like she's like, look, we are players. We are bit players. Toby, that's
yeah.
it. She was like, we're bit players in this dynamic. Like you got to get used to it. And so they knew what the dynamic was. They knew who the main character was, as the kids say, and they were not the main characters. And so they played their roles and they played them really, really well.
I'll say this too, just to put it, but
Unless
Toby was great.
Toby
was a great guy. Yeah. Yeah.
Kate was probably my least favorite.
I hated Kate.
If you recently,
man, that was a show.
If you're in therapy or you recently started therapy, if you're in therapy, This Is Us is a great show to go back and watch. Like watching it from like, I'm not an expert. I just started therapy like late last year, but like watching that show now, it's like, damn. You know, like if you had to ask somebody, what is This Is Us about? If you had to explain, there's so many directions you can go. But I think the main direction is, you know what? It's about a family that needed to be in therapy after a traumatic loss. And they didn't go.
That's exactly it.
Yeah. And then dealing with their problems or dealing with the situation in different ways. I think the best thing I took from This Is Us, and it kind of shows the story of life, how people can be in the exact same situation and see it completely differently.
Yeah, yeah.
And so when people talk about your truth, that's what I took from the show. When people talk about their truth, like there were so many situations where nobody was lying because that was their truth. That's how they saw it. You know, the mom tried to do all this stuff. Randall was looking for like, nigga, I just need to be around black people. You know, like I wasn't trying to replace you, and you know all these things. And it was people are enablers, people are this, people are that. It was just, man, I love that show.
I got to ride for my dog Miguel one more time. They did him wrong in that final episode. I don't care what nobody say.
Yeah.
That man got 2 seconds, and he spent all that time with her. I know. Look, I'm not saying Jack was supposed to get the most time. He's supposed to be the caboose, but Miguel deserved more.
Right.
Yeah.
What was it? A nod, winking a nod, yeah. Like see you later.
He switched some wine.
Going to see Jack.
And my man, Randall's dad, just kind of pushed it on, like, time to go.
Yeah, it was so...
William.
They had so many lovable, yet... William was...
my favorite. He's my favorite. Number
one.
He
just... I hated he had to die. Like, I just, like... Because sometimes characters die, and that's why you love them. William's death was just kind of... Like, we just wanted to see more of him.
I took that harder than Jack's death.
Yes. But, I mean, think about what season did Jack die? Because we knew he was going, like, I don't know when we knew he was going to die.
He dies on season 2 towards the end, going back in there for a dog.
Yeah. That's when how he died. I mean, you got to think, he was dead in season 1. He was dead because they kept flipping back and forth.
And no one really dies on This Is Us because William is throughout the entire show.
Yes. Anytime there's a William sighting, that made the show.
Yeah, you're right. But I appreciate y'all, but I really wanted to ask that question.
Well, I'm going to take a little liberty and ask my question. Rising and I were kind of talking about this at the beginning of the show, and I think this is a perfect segue, is name a characteristic of yours or somebody close to you that most of the time when you see it or you say it out loud, it seems bad, but it's something that you feel like makes you a better person. Or does that make sense? Sometimes like people see it as a bad thing. I'll give an example is I think being selfish. There's a need to be a certain level of selfish, like, you know, it's self-preservation, whatever the case may be. Like, oh, he's selfish. No, he just doesn't give in to people. Like they have their mindset, they have their agenda that they're gonna do. Like, hey, I'm only giving $5,000 to charity. I don't care how much money I make. That is my thing, right? Like because I the rest of my money is allocated for these things and my family, yada yada yada. Yeah, you can do it. Like, yeah, hey nephew, let me get $100. Yeah, Buff can give somebody $100, but Buff's like, no, I'm not doing it. Oh man, you brand acting, you know. So that's an example.
If you broke, say you broke. Just say that. I was talking to Sophie. What's the actual question?
A quality of yours that can be seen as negative, or normally when people say that quality is assumed to be negative, but you see it as something that is a strength or helps you be who you are?
Leah tells me all the time, I need to chalant. I am super nonchalant. Like, I am even keeled. Y'all have talked about it, right? Like, nothing shakes me, right? I'm just, I call it emotionally numb. Truthfully, it's just like I don't get highs and lows, right? And I think that's a gift and a curse, right? That's how I can go through wars, right? I don't get shaken when things happen. I get into battles and fights and arguments and disagreements, and I'm not going off the hinges. I'm not losing my head. I'm keeping it whenever, folks around me are losing theirs. Shout out to the bros. It's just all of that, but at the same time, it's negative to the point where I don't show a lot of emotion, right? I'm not the touchy, lovey, feely guy, and I'm not doing the romantic stuff and all of that because it's just like I'm just even keel. And so for a lot of people, it comes off like I'm uncaring. So they don't know when I care, because for me, I'll give you that $100 and not think anything else of it. I don't really care about it. Or I'll say no, and you can say, if you broke, just say that. And again, I don't care how you feel about it. So for me, it's staying that even steady pace. For a lot of folks, it comes off as kind of this uncaring. I don't really pay attention to what's going on or anything like that. And it's like I really do, and I really do care. It's just that I don't spend energy on it or mental bandwidth on it, because it's like, if I can't make a difference, if I can't fix it, if I can't affect it, I'm not going to worry about it. And so that's, I think, one of my qualities just really rubs a lot of people the wrong way. But just know that, I love hard. I'm always going to be there for you, but I'm probably not going to be the one that's calling all the time. We talk all the time, but 60, 70, 80% of it is you when you call me, like, hey, just calling, checking on you, right? Like, a lot of times it's like, unless there's like, I know something's going on, hey, I'm checking on you after something, after you had that doctor's appointment, what happened, I'm checking in like that. Or I know, a certain day or something like that, I'm gonna call and check in. But it's not gonna be like a random thing, because it's like, oh, he's good, I haven't heard from him, he's good. And so for me, it's hard to kind of keep those connections and everything like that just based on that too.
I had to think long and hard on this one as Rosie was answering, because I didn't want to have to.
I'm the man.
No, I didn't want to do the boring thing and just take your answer and say, well, selfish. I think because I do agree that everybody needs to be a little selfish, but I'm gonna go with judgmental. We had a guest on the show, and she was like, I remember she was taking notes as we were doing the show, and she was like, well, Buff, he seems like he could be a little judgmental. And I had never had anyone call me that, and I don't 100% agree with that, but I have caught myself sometimes, you see certain things, or you see certain people doing certain things, and in my mind, I'll be like, what the And then I'll remember that episode we did, and I'll be like, oh, damn, maybe I am a little judgmental. But just like we said, I'm referencing all episodes. Just like we said on several episodes before, I think the example was like shaming. We need a little shaming. Need a little bit. We need a little judgmental. And look, my favorite artist, Tupac, had a song called "Only God Can Judge Me." Good song. Flat out lie. It's a lot of people that can judge you. A lot of people that matter that can judge you as well. Mm-hmm. Not saying that I matter, but I think we all need a bit of judgment at times, because sometimes you can be doing things or moving a certain way that you don't see anything wrong with it, but to the masses, they're like, look at that fool, but they won't say nothing. They'll let you be a fool. You do need that one person you trust. They be like, yo, like, what the fuck are you doing? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, hell, we have friends like that within our group that we're like that with sometimes. So I guess judgmental has gotten a bad rap, just like being selfish has gotten a bad rap. But it's a time and place for everything. And I think there is space for some judgment, especially if it's not, I don't believe in, mocking someone, trying to embarrass someone. But if it's coming from a genuine place of correctiveness and a genuine place of love and just looking out for somebody, then hell yeah.
And I mean, that's the best case scenario. But sometimes judgmental just it's best for
it's
you.
It's a reflex. Sometimes
it's best for you. It's self-preservation. It's like, yeah, I can't rock with that. Like, they doing too much. I need to separate myself from this person. Like, I can't, the way they move. And so that leads me to mine. I don't know if it's a gift or it's a gift and a curse. I can cut people off. Like, I know how to, and not in a negative way. Like, it's just like, I can put you in the box that you need to be put. Like, I don't force the relationships. How you were like, why is she still dealing with him? Why is he still dealing with her? Like, how many times does this person have to show you they don't? I'm like, I'm good. Like, I'll put you in the box that you need to be put in and move forward. No hard feelings, nothing. Like, it's just, I forgot what we were talking about, Razi, but that's what made me come up with this question. It was just like, yeah, sometimes I just see people like, why are they still fighting to get this person's approval or to make this person see the light? Or I'm like, hey, sometimes you gotta like, hey, you know what? I can't rock with this. This is, like, it is what it is. I can't give you any more money. I gotta cut you off. The way you move and shake, I can't do that. The way you show up for me or show up for people. And I just, and sometimes people, maybe I do it too quick, but I do it because I feel like there's more people out there that I can pour my energy into. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to fight to keep you in a friend circle. I'm not going to fight to be in a relationship with. I'm not going to fight to, family. Well, we blood. Yeah, but it's a two-way street. Like, I've seen what you do, and why would I put myself in that? You don't even have to do it to me. I'm like, if this is the way you treat people, I'm cool. We can keep our distance. We can do this, and this, but I'm not going to, go out of my way to try to make an excuse for me to continue trying to be in your life or trying to keep you in my life. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it's protecting me from protecting my peace bubble.
Your peace bubble.
I forgot who said that.
Ambrosia said
yeah,
that.
So it protects my peace bubble. I do that. It's like, why fight for somebody who doesn't want to be there, or that has already shown you that that's who they are?
Yeah, I can't remember. It might have been on that same episode where we were talking about the peace bubble, and we were like, relationships should not be hard, right? They're work. You have to work at them, but they should not be hard. And if any relationship, that's a friendship, that's a work relationship, that's your job, that's a sexual relationship, well, that should be hard. But never mind. So no. So, but a romantic relationship. Any of those types of relationships, they should not be hard. And if you're in one of those relationships that, it's an argument, break up to make up and all of that, get out of it. I mean, it makes no sense to stay in those. And so, Ferg, I commend you on that. Like, you don't fight to stay in a relationship, right? It's like, okay, if I want to be in it, I don't need to be in it. So that's not a bad one at all. And Buff, to your point about judge, I will judge somebody in a second.
Yeah, that's second nature to me.
That's why we have a podcast, because we are judgmental.
And it's so second nature to the point. It's like, I don't judge and condone or condemn. I guess I don't judge and condemn people. I notice, I'm observant, and I'm like, okay, that don't make no sense, but do you, right? As long as it doesn't affect me or the way I have to view you or the interactions, like if there's a moral spin, like I'm gonna finish my day out with a judge and comment. So we got time for one more, or we done?
At an hour. Mine might be quick though. Let's try and see. So probably just a yes or no type thing there. But I was watching a video, and dude was like, I'm in a conundrum. He was talking about his homeboy. So his homeboy had brought his side chick to some event. Homeboy's girlfriend found out and then blamed it on him, right? Said, hey, she was here for him. And so the girlfriend calls his girlfriend, the original guy's girlfriend.
Hold on. Start over.
Okay, all right.
Use fake names.
Okay, all right. So Ferg, me and Ferg are going out.
I said fake names.
Flurg. There's a guy named Flurg.
Okay. Flurg has a homeboy named Roscoe. All right. So Flurg is married to Sajanya, and so Flurg brings a side chick. We just gonna call her Flo Millie. I don't know. Flo Millie.
Shout out to Flo Millie.
Flo Millie. Shout out to Flo Millie. Mobile all day long. So Flurg is dating Flo Millie. And Sojourner, she finds out about it. And so Flurg says, no, that was for Roscoe. Flo Millie was there for Roscoe. All right. Roscoe has a girlfriend as well. And so Flo Millie.
Hold on, what's Roscoe's girlfriend's name?
We're going to call her
Lita.
Okay, Lita. So Lita. All right. So Sojourner calls Lita and was like, hey, your man was out with Flo Millie. And so Roscoe is like, what should I do? Should I fall on the sword for my homeboy? Or should I be like, no, that was Flurg's side chick and I ain't got nothing to do with that. So that's the dilemma. What would you do in that situation? Do you try to just ride with it, break up with your girlfriend if you have to, whatever, to protect your homeboy marriage? Or do you just be like, nah, that ain't me?
This ain't an episode of Boondocks. Ain't no homies of a hoes. First of all, this nigga Flurg sounds like trash.
I ain't falling on no sword, big dog.
Yeah, this dude Flurg. First of all, black men don't cheat, so this is all fictitious.
There you go.
But Flurg, I would. It's not to Roscoe to fall on that. Flurg deserves to be caught up just because he should never put his homeboy at jeopardy. That's rule number one. Like, dog, like, you know what? That's like snitching. Like, dog, it's I didn't do anything wrong. Like, if you gonna do the crime, you got to do the time, right? Like, Flurg is wrong for jeopardizing Roscoe's relationship. And so Roscoe doesn't have any allegiance to Flurg at this point, though.
I'll push back a little
because
bit.
Why would I jeopardize you?
We've had a lot of homeboys growing up that, you had to play the, he was at my house, card or whatever. You've had to stand in the gap for your homeboy relationship. Nobody knew that Sojourner was going to call, what was her name, Lita? And let her know.
Yes, and you're right. But once that happens, that's when they
flirt.
Okay.
My bad, I got it.
Yeah,
so
hey. Listen. Now I would just say she wasn't there for me. I don't know if she was there for Flirt. I don't know. She wasn't there for me. We gonna clear my name right away.
Right.
So now Bab is mad at you. Now Bab is mad at Ruff. Mad at Myron. Now Bab is mad at Myron for trying to cover any of this up.
Listen, I have my own get in trouble cards. I don't need extra ones.
Exactly.
From my own boy. Shit.
So Fleur threw a Hail Mary. Okay, I got it. Roscoe didn't say anything, but once they got caught, you know what I'm saying? Once they got caught, Fleur, the only person got to fall on the sword is Fleur, right?
Yeah.
Now, Now, never mind. Because how much does Roscoe like Lita?
That's true. That is true.
Because let's be honest, in the past, Wendell's favorite line, he'd be like, but he don't like her though. He swear I didn't like any of my girlfriends. I'm like, I do. It just, it is what it is. If they gonna believe all that, then we don't need to be together. You know how I used to be. But
Ferd was a master gaslighter.
No, I just, I love all my girlfriends. But, it was more so that's not Fleur's choice to make. You handle it how you want to. At this point, Roscoe doesn't have any obligation to cover for Fleur.
And that's just a bad move on Fleur anyway, because if that's your man's, you married, your man's is dating Lita. At some point, I'm pretty sure y'all hang out together. And what was the name? Sajana is going to bring that up to Lita. So you shouldn't even put your man's in that position in the first place. So Fleur, you're all around the way, just bad dude.
We can all agree nobody likes Fleur, right?
Right.
All right, there it goes. There we go.
Everybody hates Fleur.
Everybody hates Flirt.
Oh man, that was fun.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Let's go ahead and close on out.
Man, all I got is shout out to Sophie. They and the Bumpus debate team, they won their debate tournament. And so, did I tell y'all the story about how though they messed up? And so the Sophie didn't get past the first round. The tournament was a 3-round single elimination. Sophie didn't get past the first round, and we were like, "That's weird." And then the team that beat her came in the next round with like super low scores and got beat, and we were like, "This is super weird." And then the judge that gave her the low scores saw her in the hallway like towards the end of the tournament, and she was like, "I bet you guys made it all the way to the championship." And we were like, "Wait a minute." And so come to find out, she mixed the scores up, and so Sophie and them lost their debate based on her mixing the scores up and mixing the teams up. And so Sophie just hit them with it's probably because we black. But I was like, no, baby, can't use the race card all the time. But she did. She messed it up. So Sophie didn't make it past the first round, but the whole debate team as a whole did win the tournament. So shout out to Bumpus debate team. They're the best in the state right now. They're killing it, loving it. So shout out to them, man. And shout out to my boys on the soccer team. We had our end of the year party, and it was bittersweet because it's the last season that me and Dustin, the head coach, are going to be coaching soccer. So the kids had to kind of, we have to let them go to new coaches and everything like that. And I just want to say, for anybody out there that works with kids, teachers, things like that, I understand now. I get it, right? When you're like, oh, I gotta, at the end of the year, I gotta let the kids go to the next grade, and I want to see them, especially if they're in 5th and they're going to a new school, and you're not gonna see them walking in the halls and stuff like that. It was hard. It was hard on us. I was like, this is gonna be weird, sitting on the sideline watching and not seeing these kids and not being out there coaching them. It's unusual. So Ferg, I know you just kind of started coaching, so get ready for that. At some point, you're either gonna stop coaching or the kids are gonna age out and go play, school or whatever. It gets weird, man. So, but
I do
shout
that
out to
every year
everybody that. Oh, go ahead.
Every year we get new, we lose lamplighters. You get attached to these guys. You see them I've had guys since they were in the 7th, 8th grade, and they graduate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
so yeah, you get it. So shout out to anybody who deals with kids and just have to watch them grow up. It's like watching your kids graduate high school or whatever every year, because you really do start to feel, like Ferg said, you start to feel like they're yours too. And so shout out to everybody, and shout out to the soccer team. So that's it.
Cool, good stuff. I just want to let everyone know that I have not given up on my watch every Denzel Washington movie according to the rankings by Rotten Tomatoes. I just finished number 30 out of 49, which was Out of Time. It's one of those movies, man, I could, like, if I'm flipping the channels and it's on, I could probably watch that every time it's on. Good movie. Chairman Powell, the chairman of the Fed. I remember last time we mentioned him, we mentioned how he gave a press conference. All of the markets was like anticipating this press conference to see what he would say, and the markets did really well. He was like, the economy is fairly strong. Well, as we talked about on last week's show, because of the on again, off again tariffs from Trump, he's come out and said that, hey, these tariffs, they could potentially have a long-term negative effect on the economy, on top of the fact that we may go into a recession. And Trump has pretty much said that he can't wait for him to be terminated or fired. There's a question on if the president can even fire the Fed chairman, which leads me to believe, especially with today's politics, that Trump probably can, and it's pretty much going to be a guessing game of who going to tell him he can't. So if he does fire Chairman Powell, that's going to make the markets like tumble even worse. So that's just something to watch, especially if you're someone that, all of us, we all have some type of 401k, a thrift savings plan, individual stocks like that. That's something to really watch. So that, and we saw Mark Zuckerberg at the inauguration, had a pretty prime seat. We saw a lot of these big tech CEOs, and so far, it ain't paid off for them. Meta is currently in court with the FTC. The FTC is accusing them of antitrust laws, saying that pretty much Facebook bought up all the competition so that they could be a social media monopoly. They bought WhatsApp, they bought Instagram because they were being competitive with Facebook, and you're not allowed to do that. Facebook is, I mean, what Meta is countering that, hey, no, we still have competitors. We have YouTube, we have LinkedIn, we have TikTok. Zuckerberg has not done himself any favors when some of his text messages to top people at Meta were things like, hey man, Instagram is creeping up on us. We need to do something about this. Yeah, he got messages about that. So not a good look.
Right.
But we'll see how it goes. And Google, man, they just lost another case again against the Department of Justice, where I think they're saying that the way they do their ads or whatever, they monopolize it.
It's a monopoly.
So that kind of caused some of their share prices to drop as well. So just a lot going on with big tech, stocks, the economy. Pay attention to that type of stuff, man. Just a little attention, even if you find that stuff boring, because most of our listeners are around that age where you may not be old enough to retire, but it's definitely something that you've given thought to. And a lot of this stuff that's happening today, right now, with the choices that Americans made back in November, is really affecting a lot of people's bottom line, man. So stay vigilant. That's all I got.
Most deaf.
Wow. I thought we were going to get away from that today because that was just. But no, there's so much to talk about when it just comes to politics, and I try not to give it too much brain power right now because we're officially 90 days in. Right, 90 days in.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
It seems like much longer, right? It's hard to believe it's been 3 months. But on a lighter note, shout out to SWAT Fishing. So Southwest Anglers of Texas, a black fishing group out here in Houston, out of Houston that service Galveston, and they hosted us this past weekend. They took our lamp lighters fishing in what we call, or I've coined, our Teach a Man to Fish workshop. And it's just a way to have them pour into our young men and talk to them about their lives, their love for fishing, learning a trade, and all the possibilities. Because there's some guys out there who are charter boat captains, like, Rise, we've chartered boats before. There's some people out here that do competition. There's people out there that do competition fishing, and there's then also letting people know that there are scholarships for fishing. But we really appreciate it, and then just them being able to pour into the men and show them all the similarities between fishing and life, which are so many. So I really appreciate you guys. So Southwest Anglers of Texas, one time for SWAT. When they reached out to me the first time, I had to do something with them. So this is our third year doing something with them. And just because I said, I wasn't going to talk about it, but Buck brought up being judgy. I want to hear from I'm judging. I want to hear from all the Lizzo fans who were defending her back in the day and talking about, how proud she was of her body and all the stuff. And she pulled a full-fledged Monique and lost all that weight. And she talked about she was happy with her body and all this stuff. And then
always do that.
She looks to me, she looks a lot better, which I think most people were saying. Like she would look better if she lost weight. Right? There's a reason she lost weight. Whatever it is, there's a reason. If it was for health reasons, people are like, well, she's healthy. Well, apparently she did it. Did she do it for health reasons? Did she do it because she wasn't pleased with the way she looked? Like there was something, right? But anytime somebody gave a reason why they, like, hey, maybe she should lose weight for health or body, whatever it was, she was happy where she was at. And apparently she was happy enough to stay that way. And so I just tell people, be truthful with yourselves and let people have their own opinion. Like it's, and sometimes like Buff was talking about host shaming. There's certain things like where we know that most of the times weight is linked to health and health issues, right? In the culture we live in, weight is often linked to beauty. True beauty is an eye of the beholder, but there are certain things that a lot of people will agree. I'm not saying she was ugly. I'm not saying she was unattractive. Like I said, I think she looks a lot better as she's lost weight. Right? people are probably going to come for me and all this stuff. But hey, you know what? So we were talking about judging. I'm not judging Lizzo. I'm judging y'all for not being real with her or yourselves in knowing that she could do better and she's doing better. So kudos to you, Lizzo. With that being said, Three Brothers No Sense, your favorite barbershop style podcast. 6 rules of podcast. Listen, like, share, subscribe, comment, and most importantly, listen again. Talk to you next week.